Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another episode review from Season 6 of The Loud House. Today's episode is titled, The Loud Cloud. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, Lisa and Lincoln create a new app called the Loud Cloud to replace their mom's sticky note system. Then they start adding new features to the app to accommodate everyone else's needs in an effort to make everything easier. However, the system begins to malfunction when too much stuff gets uploaded to the cloud, causing confusion and mayhem for everyone. Lincoln and Lisa destroy the machine that stores all the memory for the app, and the episode ends with the family not going back to using sticky notes, but instead using a good old-fashioned whiteboard. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. When I first read the synopsis, I thought the idea of a sticky note system was something the writers pulled out of thin air just for this episode, but then I remembered this isn't the first time the mom used sticky notes as a way of remembering things. Rita can be seen using them at the beginning of the episode Rita Her Rights, so in fairness I will give some credit to this episode for once again making use of that concept, even if the number of notes increased significantly to the point where they all had to be placed on the refrigerator. To a degree, given the size of the Loud family, I can understand why this post-it note system exists and why it would be easy to forget something if it's not written down, even in the case of Lincoln's note falling off the fridge. There's so much that needs to get done, only so much time to do it, and that's not easy if you're a parent. Granted, this note system was mostly used for reminders and requests on who needed a ride somewhere, but on the merits, I get why it would be convenient and also pose an inconvenience for someone who might get screwed over, like Lincoln when he had to walk home in the rain despite leaving a note saying he wanted to be picked up. I do have some strong critiques about this system in regard to another system they could have been using the whole time, but I'll talk more about that in just a bit. Anyway, Lincoln and Lisa decided to resolve their sticky note problem by inventing the Loud Cloud app so everyone could send and receive messages on their phones about wanting to go somewhere and then get picked up. Then they started expanding the capabilities of the app so they could store other things such as food recipes, music lyrics, jokes, pageant material, GPS directions, and even using it to program every household appliance, which was going to require a lot of memory. With all things considered up to this point in the plot, this is where I come to my critiques of the episode, and they actually started during the conversation Lincoln and Rita had in the kitchen. Rita forgot about Lincoln's note on wanting a ride home and tells him he should have just called, to which Lincoln said he left 900 messages on Rita's phone, which was conveniently on silent the whole time. Not only does this make you wonder if her phone had been on silent for everyone else in the family and why they had to use a sticky note system for reminders, but it also raises the most obvious question. Why use sticky notes or even the Loud Cloud app at all when they could have just used what was already on their phones? All phones have pre-installed apps for calling, texting, and writing notes, so why would everyone need to use an old-fashioned system of physically writing everything down on paper when they could have just used their electronic devices to keep track of all their material or send messages to their parents? I'm supposed to believe their phones were already lacking those features prior to this episode? Sorry, but going based on past episodes, I just can't buy that. The fact is, this series takes place during the digital age in which using a cell phone for everything the characters wanted to do is more common now than what it was, let's say, give or take, 20 years ago. This episode's idea would have made more sense if the series took place at a time where using a cell phone and its apps were still relatively new and unfamiliar, but that's just not the case anymore since electronic storage and reminders are now a part of everyday life. Furthermore, everyone has a laptop, or at least some of them own one, so couldn't some of the characters just put all their stuff on there too? Unless all the phones and/or computers are very low on storage, the idea in creating something such as the Loud Cloud is both unnecessary and redundant in terms of doing the things everyone wanted to do, given how they each own a device with pre-installed apps. For example, suppose Rita didn't have her phone on silent mode and everyone sent her a regular text message or phone call saying they needed to be picked up. In that case, there would be a failsafe in the off chance Rita forgot to check the sticky notes. Realistically, there would be no need for the Loud Cloud or sticky notes since her phone was already capable of performing the necessary functions. And try to remember in any given Sunday how Lynn Sr.'s phone already had an app that gave driving directions. Again, why download another app when your phone already had the one you needed? Unless the episode was willing to give a reason as to why their phones couldn't use the already pre-installed standard texting and GPS apps, which it didn't, again, using the Loud Cloud comes off as redundant. Then the cloud was programmed to control all the household appliances, and thus something like their TV remote was rendered useless. I know it sounds cool to turn on your TV using only your phone, but I'm like, wow, talk about taking laziness to a whole new level. I understood the idea they were going for, which was demonstrating how technology can make life easier, which it can in certain cases, but it can also make life worse if you start depending on it too much. Antisocial taught the same lesson, and yet that episode handled the concept of technological convenience way better than this one. This episode seemed to take the idea of how bad technology can be and really drove it into the ground by forcing out more conflict than what should have been necessary. Because the app was getting overloaded with so much data and kept running low on memory, it started to screw things up for the characters. While it would make sense for the app to malfunction while giving Rita bad driving directions and Lincoln very strange walking directions, a lot of the problems the other characters had with the app could have been easily avoided. Apparently, none of them had everything properly set up and failed to double check what they were going to pull from the app before they went ahead with whatever it was they were going to do. This led to Lisa showing off Lenny's many selfies during a science presentation instead of the slides Lenny was looking at on her phone, the wrong music being played during Lucy's funeral and during Lola's pageant performance, Luna trying to sing a song using Luann's jokes for lyrics, and their dad setting off all the appliances in the house. Like, okay, they couldn't just read what was on the app before they started doing whatever it was they were planning to do? I don't know if all the mishaps were a result of the app machine going on the fritz, or everyone was being careless or lazy or not reading the app correctly, but the ensuing mayhem turned the entire idea of technology making life easier on its proverbial head and made everything worse than it was before. That's when Lincoln and Lisa had to destroy the machine, therefore shutting down the app and losing all the memory it contained. This led to them implementing a new note system by having everyone write their requests on a whiteboard, which is actually less effective than sticky notes. The refrigerator can hold a lot of notes at one time, while the whiteboard is only so big. Either everyone has to write really small, or some of the notes are going to be either erased or not added until more room can be made. Once again, nobody ever brings up the idea of storing things on their phones and or computers with the features they already have, but hey, who has time for that kind of rational thinking? Overall, I can sum up this episode in the following way: illogical, nonsensical, and it's a story that doesn't work too well in this day and age. It was like a repeat of Lynn Sr.'s situation from the episode Antisocial, but much worse. Given the year this episode was made, using an old-fashioned sticky note system just doesn't hold up the way one thinks it should, although I do understand why it can have its benefits. Everyone in the family has a phone and or computer that can do whatever it is that needs to get done, especially in the case of their phones. Again, why use sticky notes for reminders and requests in wanting to go and then get picked up somewhere when pre-installed apps on a cell phone can easily do the same thing and doing it much more conveniently? Rita saying her phone was on silent for the longest time didn't really help either. The Loud Cloud itself was primarily redundant since the functions it offered were already presumably available on everyone's phone. Again, what's the logic in having two apps for the same function? There was also no logical reason to replace the concept of using a remote to power the TV, or flipping a switch on a kitchen appliance and programming an app to do everything, unless the idea was to reinforce how incredibly lazy people can get when they rely too much on their phones to do the most basic things. It made no sense for characters such as Lisa, Lucy, Lola, and Luna to go ahead with what they wanted to do without preparing and double checking what they planned to pull from the app, although I would be willing to cut them some slack if the app's overloaded memory was the reason for why their performances got screwed up. I guess the only thing I can appreciate about the episode would be the lesson about technology and how it can make life both easier and difficult depending on how reliant you become on using it. Other than that, nothing too memorable comes out of this one, and I wouldn't blame anyone if they decide to skip over it. Believe me, you're better off just watching Antisocial. With that said, I give The Loud Cloud a 5 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of The Loud Cloud. I will end this review with one little thing that may not be the most memorable thing of the episode, but it's something noteworthy if you're big on character relationships. Luna openly acknowledged Sam as her girlfriend. The last time she did that was in the episode Undercover Mom. It may not have been a necessary thing to say, but if anything, it's a nice little reminder of how the relationship is not as forgotten as some like to say. Again, Luna is the best ship on the show. Changed my mind. But anyway, as far as the rest of the episode goes, what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.